In a world overrun with an infinite amount of multiverses, originating from a plethora of sources, four longtime friends band together to try to make sense of it all and present it to an audience in an easy-to-digest podcast. This is Geeking Off the Page.
Greetings, geeks. This is Mike Kitchen, and this is way too late to be doing a podcast.
Hey, everybody. This is Trevor. And yeah, I echo what Mike said, but in reverse.
Hey, folks, it's Gavin. And, well, it's not that late where I am.
This is Troy, and 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. So I'd like to welcome you to the latest episode of Geeking Off the Page. This is our 27th episode. Thank you for joining us and all that. And it is being actually recorded on the 13th of November, 2021. So like I said, a group of friends that have been together doing this sort of thing all along. And now we're doing it with the technological advancements and allowing a listening public to join in our crusade to try and make sense of this whole entire multiverse of confusion of geekdom.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a couple of little news articles and all that popped up through the whole entire thing. And if you don't know by this point, about a day ago from the time of this recording, Disney decided to do something on their service, and they basically did what they like to do is like show off what they're about to do actually. And they released a whole entire slew of information about trailers and teasers about all the stuff that's coming to Disney Plus for its upcoming year and a bit, which they basically called a Disney Plus Day. And kind of cool thing is it also coincided with a bunch of new shows being released, new movies being released on it. They dropped Home Sweet Home Alone, but it was nice that the Disney Plus is now carrying Shang-Chi. So it ended its 45-day theatrical run. So it's now on Disney Plus that you can watch, which I personally was able to finally see. So I am now amongst the collective, and we'll go into that a little later, but
I'm gonna have to watch that again too, because I saw it in a drive-in and it was very dark and lots of traffic lights. So
yeah.
I might be able to see this movie.
That's a good idea. Okay, well, yeah, because
you can watch Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, and Jungle Cruise. Yeah, did a lot of advertisement for Jungle Cruise, which was kind of nice because that's another one. Damn it, I still got to get around to seeing Jungle Cruise. But anyways, one of the things that that is very central to us and all that, and it's the Star Wars stories. One of the things that unfortunately has come to pass with whatever is going on with the world is Patty Jenkins has actually her project of Rogue Squadron, which was going to be coming up, a theatrically released movie, unfortunately looks like it's been shelved for the time being. There is a good chance that the fact that Warner Brothers decided they wanted to fast track a Wonder Woman 3, and the fact that Patty Jenkins had already started in pre-production of doing her retake on the Cleopatra movie has also taken up, and it looks like the time slate that she was supposed to be working on Rogue Squadron unfortunately just looks like she's not going to be able to do that. So it looks like the actual movie has been shelved. Now, in the past, Patty Jenkins has said this is one movie that she would really like to do, that she is very adamant that she wants to get done. It just looks like now there's no actual quote from Patty Jenkins recently about why Rogue Squadron is no longer on the docket, but the fact that she recently, as in this past summer, had said she's looking forward to working on it means that something has definitely come up within the past couple of weeks.
They just drove a truck full of money up to her house and said, Wonder Woman 3?
And you know what? I'm hearing a lot of things being that's what it is. Warner Brothers is afraid that they're going to lose Patty Jenkins to Disney, so they've decided, hey, here's the crap load more.
Hey, do you want to really get paid?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
another thing with the Star Wars stuff, though, it seems like over the past few years, it's like, hey, you get a trilogy, and you get a trilogy, and you get a trilogy. It's like, actually, we're not doing those trilogies anymore. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the whole Star Wars universe as far as, shuffling around creators.
It sounds like upper management's getting shuffled. So
it does sound like that, yeah.
Well, the rumors I've been hearing is that Kevin Feige is putting what's his name, directed Iron Man, Jon Favreau.
Yeah, Favreau.
Putting him in charge of the whole Star Wars sort of like cinematic universe.
You mean Kathleen Kennedy's doing it? Feige's in charge of Marvel.
No, but I've been hearing rumors that that they're putting Jon Favreau in charge of the whole.
Yeah, Kennedy's going to be.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Further up the ladder.
He's getting. Well,
her contract
she's
finishes
Lucasfilm
this year.
She's a Lucasfilm, so
yeah. So I think her contract finishes this year.
As
Jon
actually,
Favreau.
her past contract actually ended on the 31st of October, and as of the 1st of November, she's still listed as the president of Lucasfilm. So
she's still part of the Raiders 5.
Yeah,
she said that's her last film.
Yeah,
with Lucas.
Yeah,
like Lucasfilm. So
yeah. Oh, and if Patty Jenkins is going to leave Lucas, she's leaving on her own. She's not going to be booted out. There's no way. She's but one of the other things, which is kind of nice, again, still Star Wars. We'll get to the big Obi-Wan thing in a second, but it's looking like one of the Star Wars visions is actually going to be nominated as a animated short for an Academy Award, which is kind of neat. Yeah, I wish I had the research in front of me. I was just about to say, I wish I had the research in front of me of which one it was, but I did hear that one of them, I think it's The Bride, is going to be, because what had happened is a couple of, I can't remember what movies they were, but it was actually shown as an opening short to a couple of Disney movies that were like internationally released. So
The Village Bride, you're right.
Yeah, the Bride one. Yeah. So that looks like is the one that's going to be, which is fantastic. Again, any of those are like, well, not any of them, but it's a good one that they chose. It's a good one that they chose because it's not too deep in the lore, and it's not too like over anyone's head sort of thing, and it's not too gimmicky either.
There were stronger ones.
There
definitely were stronger ones, but
yeah.
This was a cute one. Like I thought it was solid.
Yeah. So that being said, that's kind of cool that, hey, Star Wars is going to get some more Oscar nods sort of thing, at least the very least of the Oscar nod itself. So the other thing is that on Disney Plus Day, we got to see not what I think everyone was expecting to see. Now, a couple of days, like a week prior, we got the release of the trailer for Book of Boba Fett. And that was a fantastic thing to see. Everyone was excited for that. And tune into last week's episode. We gushed about, wanted to see more of this Jon Favreau and David Filoni's version of Star Wars, which is grown-up guys playing with their like toys when they were kids, and they're just doing a fantastic job. So it looks like the same from this. Now, coming up with that, everyone was expecting, we're going to see something from Obi-Wan. Yes, because that's the next thing to come out, which is the next thing to be released. Andor, we were expecting to see something from Andor, which is the storyline of Cassian Andor, which takes place prior to Rogue One. Because that also is done its production and all that. So everyone was expecting to see something like that. We know that Ahsoka is being worked on, so we weren't expecting anything like that. But anyways, what we got from Obi-Wan, unfortunately, was just an interview with the director, an interview with Ewan McGregor, footage from episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and some concept art. And Ewan McGregor being very excited that Hayden Christensen is coming back to the fold and all that. So again, it's kind of neat and all that, but unfortunately, not really what everyone I think was hoping to expect. But again, we might have to wait till about a month and a half before Obi-Wan comes out before we actually get anything like Book of Boba Fett. So, but other than that, we didn't. Nice saber there, Mike.
Sorry.
Mike,
Looking forward to
stop
that one.
showing off your saber.
Yeah, I mean, yes,
Button up your pants, damn it.
you are right, Michael. Everyone is totally looking forward to it. I mean, you're looking
on,
forward
Trevor, you
to it.
almost
I'm
had it.
looking forward to it. I did hear something kind of cool that John Favreau and Filoni came to the director of Book of Boba Fett and of Obi-Wan, the director of Obi-Wan, and had like helping out and all that sort of thing, which is kind of neat to bring her into the universe and all that, even though it doesn't take place in their universe. But the fact that originally there was supposed to be some sort of appearance of Darth Maul, and because of Filoni and they basically convinced her not to have Darth Maul in there. So there's a good chance that we might actually get a Maul and what we saw in Solo, as in the whatchamacallit, the underworld that was being run by Darth Maul,
The Black Sun.
The Black Sun. It took you long enough to come back, Trevor, because I'm staring at a screen. I'm like, I know Trevor knows the answer to this question. Mike has no idea what I'm saying, and Gavin's looking at the video games on the shelf.
Sagely.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't watch Solo.
Exactly.
Once I saw there was Wookiee showers and stuff, I was like, nah, I'm done.
There's one Wookiee shower, and he has to share it with Han. That's why those guys are so close. Because
I knew you were doing a force grab.
So anyway,
And it was seamless too, Trevor. Seamless.
That was really smooth. That was really smooth. So other than that, do you guys know of any sort of news articles you want to bring up with all that, or do we want to move on to housekeeping? Housekeeping. All right. So what we can do is, I believe we have some housekeeping, as in some people have seen some movies. Now, I will just say that I'm going to, I just saw Shang-Chi finally. So unfortunately, I didn't get to see it in the theater. My compatriots did. They've actually talked about it and whatnot in detail a while ago. And I'm going to echo the fact that it was a fantastic movie to be watching. So
hey, it's recording.
It's recording, yes. So when it comes to Shang-Chi, I'm just going to reiterate what my compatriots have already before. I am sorry that I didn't get to see this movie in the theater, because it is a very beautiful to view movie. It's full of color, it's full of brightness. The chemistry between the main cast is fantastic. The two of them work well off of each other. It's very funny at points. It's very endearing at points. The backstory that we're given, like when the father and the mother meet for the first time in the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sort of environment, is just so beautifully shot. The wire work is so, and it is definitely obvious that the people, everyone involved with this, are into that sort of kung fu mysticism movies and all that. And it shows, like the fight outside the building on the scaffolding is just gorgeously shot.
That's part I didn't see in the drive-in.
Yeah, of course you would not see it in the drive-in. Yeah, because it is definitely dark. Yeah, except for that one when they're backlit with the friggin' neon wall, and then like, oh, I see black items moving in front of this giant pink wall sort of thing. But again, I'm sorry I didn't get to see it in the theater. But that friggin' bus fight is just like such a small area that you can get so much movement into it. It's just beautifully done and beautifully shot.
That was fun. It gave me Jackie Chan vibes.
Absolutely perfect.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't look like anything was cheated. Like oh, this is like a fake wall and all that sort of thing. No, it looked like it was close quarters, all down to like the very final. Yeah, and again, like everyone said, it's a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. The Wong extra scene at the end was kind of nice. Him showing up, the karaoke singing was hilarious. Friggin' Bruce Banner back, which is nice. It's it was kind of cool. He's still got the sling and all that, so we don't know what really actually happened to Professor Hulk, or they just decided, oh, we don't have the budget for the CG. So yeah, Bruce is back to normal.
If Trevor's right, stay tuned for She-Hulk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you'll find out in She-Hulk. Well, actually, you wouldn't find it in She-Hulk. You'll find out how. Yeah. Anyways, but still, it was a fantastic movie. I'm glad I got around to seeing it. And like I said, I'm sorry I didn't see it in the theater. I didn't see it sooner. I mean, I sat through the conversation that we had, and I knew what was going to happen. And I knew what was expecting. But Ben Kingsley. I mean, like Trevor Slattery coming back and like fantastic, giving honor to that little bit that they showed in the Hail to the King from Captain America was fantastic. So I mean, it was a really fun thing to see, and like I said, I really enjoyed it. So that's all I have to say about that, because everything else has been said and all that. I'm hoping that the nice thing is it definitely looks like we're going to be seeing more of these characters, which is great. And the fact that they're going to be involved with Wu sort of thing is a fun thing to look forward to. So that being said, there was a movie that came out this particular week. Sorry, last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And that was Marvel's The Eternals. And
one of us saw it.
And one of us saw it. And one of us is going to be giving his little capsulized review. Now, anyone listening, don't worry if you're interested in seeing this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, you know what? Gavin is going to be giving us what he claims is a spoiler-free review of the movie.
Relatively.
He claims that.
Oh, he claims that. Okay, so it's not going to be our usual spoiler heavy. Let's put it that way. I mean, Gavin will do what Gavin does, and again, if it gets into spoiler
stammering
territory,
a lot isn't usually the thing I'm best at, but
exactly.
this will work.
Drooling.
But again, you are listening to a spoiler cast. So, but this one probably won't be as spoilery as it would be if we all saw it. So, okay, take it away, Gavin.
Okay, so well, Eternals was on my radar as one of the upcoming Marvel movies. It wasn't like a big draw movie like Avengers. I didn't know too much about the Eternals going into it, and I felt Marvel was going to pull Guardians of the Galaxy and make something interesting out of it. So I was not expecting, like something incredible, but I thought it was going to be entertaining. And to be honest, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Casting was good. The story they had on it was good. It's not on my top 10, but it's definitely a decent effort. Directed by Cleo Zhao. Music was scored by Ramin Djawadi, aka the guy who's scored just about anything you've ever watched, including Game of Thrones, Westworld, Pacific Rim, and a small movie you may have heard of called Iron Man.
Yeah.
So
you know what type of music to expect. Yeah.
Exactly. The music was fantastic. Now, I will say, given that it's the Eternals, I was expecting sort of that cosmic level of story. The Kirby style cosmic, great cosmic power, that sort of thing. And I felt like they did a pretty damn good job with that. It brought the Kirby style cosmic to the MCU. We did see a little splash of that with the Avengers. Everything was still kind of like, okay, everything's kind of centered on the Earth, but there's a little bit of stuff going on outside, like nowhere with the Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos' homeworld, all that stuff. There was a lot of, but it kept sort of tightening back to the everything hinged on Earth. That's the thing is, they haven't really done a Kirby style cosmic level of storyline, and this is where I think they did a fairly good job. They still managed to keep it tight on the Eternals themselves. So as always, it does seem to sort of localize themselves right on Earth, but they really managed to pull off this scale that I was very impressed with.
How did it compare to Ragnarok as far as bonkers, crazy space stuff? Because Ragnarok seemed like the most crazy space Kirby to me. Is it comparable?
I'd say comparable. I would say comparable. There was some stuff that I'm sitting. I actually like sat back in my chair with my mouth dropping, in terms of like the sheer scale that they were working with here. When it comes to cosmic scale, obviously the Celestials are going to play a big part of that. We knew that the Celestials were going to be in it, but the way they used the Celestials, the main Celestial that was featured was Arishaman, who essentially was the one guiding the Eternals, sending them to Earth to basically defend against the Deviants. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the plot of this because it does give away a few things, but the way they addressed the Eternals, or sorry, the Celestials, just the sheer cosmic scale of them just blew my mind. It was one of those moments where I'm just jaw like in my lap. The sheer scale of it was just like clubbing me over the head almost. Erisham, sorry, it was voiced by David Kay, who, if you've ever watched Beast Wars, it was the voice of Megatron. Was just reverberating voice, just filled the theater with sound. It does address the Thanos snap. So why they didn't interfere, I won't get into too much detail, but it does explain quite a few things with that.
Question for you. I don't know if this is spoilers, but did any of the Eternals get snapped? Did they disintegrate or no? Or did they all stick around?
I will not confirm. I will not confirm nor deny that.
I have two more spoiler questions I have to ask. Do they address Thanos and do they address Ego?
They address Thanos.
Okay.
They don't touch on Ego.
Okay.
Clarification. When addressing Thanos, do they say he's a deviant?
They don't say anything of that nature.
Ugh.
I will say the characters themselves, the Eternals. So you had Cersei, Icarus, Athena, Ajax, Kingo, Sprite, Festus, Makari, Druig, Gilgamesh, Karun. They were all likable characters. Like there wasn't a single character in that I felt was either slighted too much or spotlighted too much in terms of like. It just felt like there was just enough attention on all of them to make you start to kind of feel and understand the characters. I will say Kumail Nanjiani as Kingo stole pretty much every scene he was in.
That's good to hear.
What was that guy's name?
That is definitely good to hear.
Kumail Nanjiani.
He's from Silicon Valley.
He was fantastic in it.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie played a character that I thought, well, she was Athena. I was expecting some certain plot points with her character, but completely like twisted around on me. Honestly, there were so many things in there that I was kind of expecting, but it twisted around and like hit me from behind. It was there was so many things that I did not expect. I was even guessing right up until the very end, how are they going to deal with the big bad threat at the end of the movie? I was guessing like right up until the end. It was which I think for a Marvel movie that was a bit of a feat, honestly. Had some of the best cinematography I've ever seen in a Marvel movie.
Well, that comes from the director herself, though. She's known for that sort of epic sort of vistas and whatnot.
Shot on location as well with natural light.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Just it was unlike any other Marvel movie I've seen. I would say it didn't. You know that criticism that was uttered by what's the name, director of Dune. Basically, Marvel was cookie cutters. like it was a cookie cutter kind of Marvel experience. It didn't feel like that at all, not even slightly. I know there was a lot of concern from some people that it was SJW or too woke. I didn't feel like there was anything of that nature in there. That felt like it was being hand fed to appease that audience. Everything just felt right. There was nothing I felt too over the top. There was something I think Amanda had mentioned. I didn't notice it, so maybe it was maybe a little obvious, but I didn't notice it. It was just a comment about I am who I am, and it was referring to the Festus, the gay character, but I didn't see it, so I was just still involved in the movie. I think the main issue that it suffered from, which is I think the same thing that all of these ensemble movies suffer, is because we weren't introduced to the characters separately. We didn't get a lot of time with the characters, so you didn't have a lot of time to feel the loss of a character dying, or when Tony Stark did the snap at the end of Avengers, we had I don't know how many friggin' movies to build up to that emotional attachment we have to Tony Stark. So I mean, it was trying to pull a Justice League, although I do think it pulled it off better than Justice League managed to do it in terms of the ensemble. But I still think they managed to juggle them fairly well, or well enough that you felt something for the characters. Now, I will say I came out pretty much blown away by just the sheer scale and how they kind of tied everything together. We already know that Kit Harington, who's in it, is playing Dane Whitman, aka the Black Knight. But in the ending credits, they do introduce two new characters. They introduce Pip, as played by Patton Oswalt, and Eros, aka Star Fox, played by Harry Styles.
Right. Yes. Okay. I heard, right. Harry Styles. Right. I heard that one. Yeah.
And the first thing that Pip says is, something along the lines of, "Behold, the Star Fox, Eros, brother of Thanos." It's like, oh, well, this is interesting. And of course, now the second thing that came to mind after introducing Eros was, oh, geez, I hope they don't have his like rapey powers. That's a little weird, because I mean, he always came off as a little bit non-consensual with how he used his powers. But they did look like they were cast rather well for that. And then basically Kit Harington, who's playing Dane Whitman, is the boyfriend of Cersei. He's witnessed the events of what has happened at the end of the Eternals, and so now he's going to, I think, basically try to embrace the powers of the Black Knight, and so has to. He's looking at his sword, and then he's about to touch it, and then you hear another voice, basically saying, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And that voice was Mahershala Ali doing Blade's voice, and I was just like, "Oh my!" So
cool.
As Mike, as you would say it, there was nothing in there that I think, if you end up missing it, wait till Disney Plus. You're not missing anything in terms of the overall arcing Marvel Cinematic Universe. But
I got two questions. Okay, no, continue.
It does bring more of the vast Marvel Cinematic Universe and opening it up, much the way the Multiverse of Madness / No Way Home is going to do or introduce.
So two questions for you. One, I've been hearing rumblings online as that this is like the first Marvel movie with a sex scene. Is that something that's kind of blatant and over the top, or is that like a subtle thing?
There was nothing. There is nothing over the top about it.
So it's still like a family friendly.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of like the kind of thing you'd see in a PG rated movie for sure.
Okay.
So I would say it's nothing you need to worry about.
And second question, where would you rate that with the other Marvel movies? Like your enjoyment level? Like what's one that we've all seen that you would pair it up with as far as quality and enjoyment?
That's a really hard one. I've enjoyed the majority of them. On if we were to take all the Marvel movies, and I was to rate where my enjoyment of this in terms of a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably say a 7 for sure. Like it was,
So it's
it
in
was
the
enjoyable.
top. It's in the top.
Well, no. There's top 10 Marvel movies, and then
Okay.
and this didn't hit there. But the
Okay.
thing is, a lot of the movies I have enjoyed for different reasons, and I definitely enjoyed this one for what it was.
All right.
Did it feel
Trevor?
like 2.5 hours? Like it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's longer than
Yeah,
Geeking,
yeah.
right?
I wasn't really keeping track of time. There was a little bit of filler. I think that they could have
Okay.
probably cut down, but it did feel like everything was sort of had a
It
purpose
felt
in it.
earned. It felt earned to be sitting there for 2.5 hours and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's also a good thing to know that you're not wasting your time. You're not like, oh, this could be like a half hour shorter.
Let me put it this way, as Trevor is so fond of pointing out, at no point did I look at my watch and go, oh fuck, how long has it been? Fuck.
That's always good too. So you didn't. Okay, that's another good point. If you keep checking your watch, like whoa, or if it's like, oh my god, this movie's almost over.
Basically, let me put it this way: if you're on the fence, if you're thinking, you know what, I'm not sure if I really want to see this or not, wait for Disney Plus. You know it's going to come there. I would say at the very least on Disney Plus, you can feel like you've earned or you've earned your money, kind of thing. If you're leaning towards seeing it, I would say it's worth seeing in the theater. That cosmic scale with the Celestials was just like gripping for me.
And the chances are there's going to be no connection to Spider-Man.
No, not that I saw. Yeah. There was nothing that led directly into the big stuff that we're anticipating.
And this will definitely be on Disney Plus before Doctor Strange comes out in theaters. Probably. So yeah. Okay.
So one thing I was just looking at, and correct me if I'm saying his name wrong, Kumail Nanjiani.
Yep, that's it.
Right?
Kumail Nanjiani. Yeah.
Okay, so I was just looking up him because since he stole the show, I wanted to see who it is. It looks like he's an Obi-Wan, so that's kind of interesting.
Yes, I completely forgot about that. That's right.
I have no idea what kind of character he'll play, but if he's stealing the show in Eternals, then I'm excited to see that he's an Obi-Wan Kenobi.
According to an interview, he said he was approached by who was it that approached him? I can't remember who approached them, but when they said that, so he basically said yes before they even actually gave him a title character or anything like that. But he couldn't say what he was, but he said he's a character that you have not seen the likes of his character before in a Star Wars series or a Star Wars property or something like that. I can't remember what it actually is, but it's a character or something that you've never seen before, at least in live action. Let me put it that way. So basically he found out Star Wars and he said, yes, I'll do it. And then, and then he found out.
We haven't even told you what it is. I don't care. I'm doing it.
Because apparently he said yes for Star Wars. And then he found out that it was going to be in the Obi-Wan series. So
we want you to play R2-D2. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, hell yes. I mean, freaking Troy Bowman is R2-D2. Yes, I would totally take that credit. You don't
just squeezing that can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So, any other questions for Gavin about the Eternals? Alrighty then. No. So, thank you for that, Gavin. That was actually pretty good. I like that. I mean, I still want to see the movie. And this was nice that it wasn't.
I'll wait for Disney Plus.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely.
You did make me more curious. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
If I see it as terrible, I shall curse you.
I will say the Eternals themselves, each character had a very definitive power in the movie. So there was never a point where you felt like it was like, oh, they're just all the same character. Like you saw in the trailer, the bit where Icarus is basically saying, I saw you, you were flying and you had a cape and lasers came out of your eyes. They some of the effects for that were really, really cool.
Nice. But I believe though in the comic book, didn't all the Eternals have basically the exact same powers?
No, each one had their own.
Oh, they
distinct
did have
powers.
different. Okay, so they did have different powers.
Each character had their own distinct power.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna be moving on to anyone else have anything they want to bring up before we move on to our next subject matter? Anyone?
No, I got nothing. Family's still watching Naruto. We're like 700 episodes in, still enjoying it, but nothing new to report.
All right.
I've caught Doom Patrol, and I've got to the point where I'm almost like, why am I bothering?
Really?
Yeah, it's you can tell they've kind of like they've hit their peak and then realized, oh crap, we still have more episodes. So things are like really flatlining.
Oh,
like
one of those sort of I got you. We
got
a strong start
week to week.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
yeah, you're just like, oh god. Part of the problem is so they introduced the character of Madame Rouge, the shapeshifter.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
But they're trying to shoehorn her in to be involved with the characters. So they're using time travel and
this is the woman that played Missy in Doctor Who, right?
Yeah, I think
British
so.
actress, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's sucking the life out of a lot of the scenes that she's in because you're just like, I don't care about you as a character, and the way that the actress is portraying her, you care even less. You're like, can someone just finally put a bullet between her eyes and just put us out of our misery?
Well, that sounds a little harsh.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, they didn't introduce the Monsieur Mala and the brain, which is kind of nice, but they're so very brief bits that it's not enough to carry it right now.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
All right. So that being said, we're going to move on to our next subject matter, which is going to be the results of our defending your role. So what we had done, it's a little game that we like to play here, and we're given a category which has 6 subjects in it, and we each randomly roll a die, and whichever die number we get, we have to defend that particular subject matter. So this particular time around, our second time around, we had to do the Universal Monsters. And so we sat down a couple of weeks ago and basically defended our individual roles. Gavin had Frankenstein's monster. I myself had the creature from the Black Lagoon. Michael had the Invisible Man, and Trevor had the Mummy. So after we have our little debate about who we basically are defending as being the best in that group, we then leave it up to our listening audience or watching audience, because we also listed the stuff on YouTube, and they get to choose who they believe did the best job of defending the role. And
did we get any votes, or did we just all vote for ourselves?
We got well, I will say that it was a very tight race. It was definitely not as it was not it's a tight race because it wasn't as big of a voting pool as our Batman from the first time around. So when I culminated from all of our whole entire things, so in last place with no votes was Frankenstein's monster.
Rigged.
Now in third place, the Mummy with 1 vote. However, also in third place with 1 vote is Gilman, which means the Invisible Man won with 2 votes. We had 4 votes. So whether it was any of you guys voting for anyone and all that.
Trevor, did you vote for me?
I didn't vote for anybody.
Yeah, no, neither did I. That wasn't part of it. Mike, did you vote for yourself?
Hell yeah, I voted for myself. Had to get some vote in there.
All right.
Okay, so if I'd known I was to vote for myself, I would have had at least tied with third
we
place.
would have been tied for we would have been a 4-way tie for first, because well, no, actually there's a good chance that me and Trevor would have been in first place, because if we had each voted and other people voted 1 for us. So Mike, your logic is flawed. Anyways, it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. We're gonna go on to something else next time around. We'll come up.
And actually, I have a question for you because as
Yeah.
far as the voting works, and I'm sure our listening audience would love to know this, but where do the votes show up? Because I keep seeing the Twitter votes, but then
Yes.
is there also like YouTube
Well,
votes
what I'm
or
doing
Instagram
is-
or?
Well, there isn't any way to do a poll on any other sort of thing. So everything is directed back to our Twitter to do the poll. But if people want to leave a comment in wherever they found it as to who they want to say is the best, I've also gone to that. We had no comments on any of our stuff. So
People
unfortunately.
comment,
Sad.
yeah,
Vote.
exactly. Yeah. I think it was a fluke. I think it was a fluke because we just happened to, because all the tags of the different Batman actors and Batman and all that just happened to be because it coincided with the Flash sort of thing. So the Batman was big in everyone's sort of search.
Oh, and people
So
love
when
Batman. Yeah,
exactly,
Batman
and
shows up
people
in
love
anything.
Batman. Yeah,
You
do a
hear that from
search.
indie comic creators
Yeah.
all the time. It's
Exactly.
like,
I think
you know,
what hurt
they
us
do
is we didn't have Dracula or the Wolfman.
Yeah, if we had Dracula and Wolfman, we probably would have had a bigger poll too. I mean,
Yeah.
and the fact that I had to put Gillman in a lot of things because Creature of the Black Lagoon doesn't show up in the actual poll. It was too many words to put as the actual name, so I had to put Gillman. So unfortunately, but hey, live and learn. We're gonna shoot at this again. I believe the next subject matter that we're gonna do is what do you got? Movie or TV cars or just geek?
We were
cars?
gonna do just cool cars,
Cool
mostly
cars.
from the 80s. Yeah.
Cool cars from the 80s, cool cars from the 80s, and TVs and movies sort of thing, right? Is that what we're gonna do? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll figure that out logistically, and that'll be for next week maybe. So all right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to our next one, and this is one where we get to wax poetically about some of our favorite stuff. Michael came up with an idea as I want to hear what everyone's top 10 list of their favorite movies are, and that's what we've decided to do. We've come together and we've culminated our top 10s. Some of us had our top 32s and whittled it down to eventually the top 10s, and we're going in reverse order. Last week we had our 10s. If you want to hear what they are, go back and listen to last week's episode because I'm not going to rehash what everyone did. Because actually, technically, I can't remember what everyone did actually off the top of my head right now. But we are going to go on to doing this again with our number 9. Now, I believe Michael started last week, so let's have Trevor start with his number 9 this week.
All righty then.
Trevor.
Yes.
Number 9.
Oh, my number 9 top 10 movies that I enjoy the most. Number 9 came out in 1992. Directed by Clint Eastwood.
Oh,
Unforgiven.
Yeah. All right.
This movie was made on a budget of $14 million and pulled in $159 million. It stars Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman, Gene Hackman, Richard Harris, and is a phenomenal modern Western. This was a movie that I had zero knowledge of until my ass hit the seat in the theater and the screen came up and I was like, oh, what's this? Now, growing up,
I can't believe my eyes.
Yeah, my dad made me watch a lot of Westerns. Westerns and war movies were his favorite genre of movies. So I saw a lot of Westerns. I can't count how many times I saw Shane. It's one of his favorites. But he loved the spaghetti Westerns. The man with no name Western.
Man with no mane. I love that.
Yeah.
Bald.
Clint Eastwood was the star of, and Sergio Leone, he just pumped them out as fast as he could. The good, the bad, and the ugly, Fistful of Dollars. So I got to see all those as a kid growing up. This movie felt like the spiritual successor to all of those spaghetti Westerns. Quick recap. So you've got, it's in Wyoming. Clint Eastwood's character is, he's like a pig farmer his farm is failing. His wife has passed away. He's got 2 kids. He needs money. And a boastful young man calling himself Schofield Kid shows up and says he's got a job. A town nearby, some cowhands went in and ended up cutting up some of the prostitutes. And so the prostitutes have put together some money to put out a bounty on these cowhands. and the Schofield kid needs a partner to help him go take these guys down and collect the money. Initially, Clint Eastwood's character is kind of very reluctant because he doesn't want to get back into that life. Because it goes in a little deeper later, but it's just who he really was, and the past he was trying to leave behind. So back in Wyoming, there's an English gunfighter, English Bob, British born, who tries to take the bounty. But that particular town has a very brutal sheriff who's played by Gene Hackman, who is an excellent shot and is very straightforward in the way he deals with what he perceives as a bad element. So he proceeds to beat English Bob, stomps a mud hole in him and walks him dry, sort of thing. Just basically say, this is my town, it's run my way. The whores can, keep the money, sort of thing. If was it something along the lines of they can gather together all this money, then they're not spending it on the right sort of thing. Like he's just a very not nice guy. And he's got, oh God, what's his name? He's quickly look. He's got a guy following. English Bob had a guy following him around who was writing stories, who then latches on to the sheriff until William Money, who is Will Money, who's Clint Eastwood's character, shows up with one of his best friends, Ned Logan, played by Morgan Freeman, played amazingly by Morgan Freeman. They end up killing these two ranch hands. And believe they're going to go their separate ways. Now, at this point, Will Money has suffered. He's going through something similar to tuberculosis. I don't think it's quite that bad, but so he was sick for most of it. Meanwhile, Schofield and Ned Logan have been getting freebies at the whorehouse as part of partial payment. So they're told the job's done. They can go home. But Ned's caught by the posse, and the Schofield kid comes riding up to Will Money and says, they put Ned out front in a box. He's dead. And Will Money's like, really? And that's when Schofield kid starts saying, well, they're saying you're Will Money, a guy, a notorious outlaw who killed women and children. And Clint Eastwood is not denying any of it. He's just, up to this point, he refuses to take a drink of alcohol, and he opens up the whiskey and he's just taking shots of whiskey as he's getting all this information. And the Schofield kid basically has crapped his pants, realizing he's in the presence of a real outlaw. Up to this point, he's been all bluster and no real payout. Now it's being in the presence of someone who's walked the walk and talked the talk. And so then Will Money decides he's going to go get himself a little bit of revenge. Shows up, it's raining late at night, in one of the most amazing shootouts in a bar I have ever seen. There's a tense moment where he's got a shotgun leveled up, and got his name, Gene Hackman, saying, you don't have the guts to shoot us. And he's like, I'll put down the first man who moves, and pulls the trigger on the first one, and it's a misfire. And he's only got one shell left. But sometimes you just don't want to be the first guy to die. You really don't. And if you're the first guy that makes that move, you're eating lead first. So what if the guy gets killed? You're dead too. But anyway, Clint Eastwood in classic fashion just cleans house. And he has this whole thing where he, up to this point, Gene Hackman's character, the sheriff character, has been building a house quite badly. He's a better sheriff than he's a carpenter. And he gets shot and he's laying there. And Clint Eastwood's character walks up and he reloads his gun and he's like, I don't deserve this. I was building a house. And Clint Eastwood says something effective, deserve doesn't mean anything, shoots him dead. And the little reporter guy says, how'd you know who to kill him? And that's when he says, I've always been good at killing. It's the one thing. That's my cat in the back, just clawing at the back of the monitor. Anyway, so the end, there's an epilogue, and during their title card states that Will and his children abandoned the farm, left behind his wife's grave, and rumored to have moved to San Francisco. And it talks about how his wife's mother had never wanted her daughter to marry such a man of low character, William Money. And it was just, it was a movie that, it didn't go out on a big high note. It didn't really go on a low note. It went out on a note that a Western goes out on. And I remember at the end, when the credits started rolling, I remember sitting there going, it felt like I was a little kid again, sitting next to my dad on the couch watching a Western. And it was such a magical feeling. And I remember, got back to the apartment, at Sheridan, and I called my dad almost right away. Like I got in, took my shoes off, took my coat off, picked up the phone, dialed my parents, and said to my dad, "You have to see this movie." Now, my parents were never big moviegoers. There were certain movies they would go see, but they were not the sort that would just, we're just going to go see the movies tonight, sort of thing. And I remember like hounding my dad for like almost an hour of just like, get your ass in the car tomorrow night, go to Kingston, see this movie. You have to see this movie. And he finally agreed to do it. And the next night, about 10:30, phone rings. My dad, and he's like, thanks for recommending me to go see this movie. And it was such a nice connection moment. And that's why when I was putting together this list, this movie it started on the list and it bounced around a couple spots. And when I started numbering them, it just kept climbing higher and higher as other movies got eliminated, and eventually found its home at number 9. It is a movie that when it's on, again, I don't care at what point the movie's on, I'll put the controller down and just start watching. And in a way, it feels like my dad's sitting next to me on the couch watching this film. He passed away in 2014. And this is a movie that I can watch. There's a handful of war movies like The Dirty Dozen and stuff like that evoke that same feeling. But this is a movie I can watch, and I can feel his presence on the couch next to me as I watch this film. And
That's amazing.
That's cool. So that's really cool. Yeah.
This is a film that I will watch every time it's on. If it's on, I'm watching it because it's a way to reconnect with my dad.
Yeah, with that movie, that's one that like I worked on Red Dead Redemption 2. And as soon as I realized I was working on that game, that was the very first movie I put on. It's like, all right, let's get into the spirit of the Wild West. And yeah, Unforgiven was the very first one that went on for reference.
And again, it was a big like Oscar winner that year too. I mean, it won a boatload of didn't it actually win Best Picture? Did it not?
Let's see. Academy Awards. It won Best Picture, Best Director,
right.
Best Supporting Actor for Gene Hackman.
Right.
Yeah. It was nominated for cinematography, art direction, screenplay, as well as Clint Eastwood had been nominated for Best Actor.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
So again, you're saying it's a good movie?
Yeah.
It's a damn good movie.
Yeah, it's a damn fine movie. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right.
I'm glad that you were able to get that connection with your dad there, because that's a huge impact.
Yeah, anytime a movie invokes that kind of an emotion, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I said. It instantly showed up when I first started listing movies, and as I started eliminating movies, it just started climbing up that list.
Yeah.
Good. And I understand what you mean by the Shane thing, because Shane was my father's favorite movie too, and I don't know how many times I'd seen Shane as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that
I could quote it if I had to.
Yeah,
I really could.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And again, yeah, the connection, because every dad either is into war movies, westerns, or both. Yeah. So. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next contestant in this game of what's your number 9? Hey, Gavin, what's your number 9? Do not say Transformers, or I'm turning this bus around right now.
I'm not even remotely related to Transformers.
Okay, good.
So my
no, just kidding.
My top 10 is sort of a fluctuating thing. The only reason why it's occupying this number is because you kind of forced me to quantify the numbers. So my number 9 is Idiocracy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's 2006, directed by Mike Judge, starring Luke Wilson, Dax Shepard, Maya Rudolph, Terry Crews. It's a bit of an infamous movie from Fox. Received a very, very limited theatrical release. I think at the maximum it had about 130 theatrical showings. It was only released in 7 cities from what I recall. There was no advertisement, no promotional material. Some of the theories surrounding that was that Fox was actually very embarrassed by the fact that essentially it's actually targeting a lot of their target audience. The people that would watch Fox, it's actually making fun of that sort of mentality. It's basically a very subversive sci-fi comedy where a very average test subject in the form of Luke Wilson's Joe Bowers is put into hibernation and accidentally is frozen for 500 years. And when he emerges, he discovers that humanity has quite literally bred itself into stupidity. And Joe is quite literally the smartest man on the planet. The parallels between modern culture and this future are a little too on the nose, especially if you go back and watch it now. With spot on commentary on commercialization, with capitalism and uneducated / undereducated population. Luke Wilson plays the everyman wandering around this new world and discovering that this world is populated by the dumbest people on the planet. Joe is handpicked by the government after excelling at solving a basic preschool level shape puzzle. He's pulled down as an advisor to President Camacho, played by Terry Crews, who's voted in most likely because he liked guns and liked to shoot them in Congress, to try and figure out why they can't grow food. Turns out they're watering the plants with Brondo because it's got electrolytes and stuff. There's so many subtle wordplay jokes. Justin Long plays a doctor who basically looks at Joe and says, "Why come you got no tattoo?" Just the subtle massacre of the English language is what makes it so funny. Some of the sight gags, like having Costco being essentially an industrial wasteland that's fallen apart, yet it's about the size of like multi-city blocks. The greeter greets everyone as they come in. "Welcome to Costco. I love you. Welcome to Costco. I love you." So many great quotes as well. They turned Starbucks into a full release massage parlor. One of the best quotes in that movie. So, "Man, I could really go for a Starbucks, you know. I don't think we have time for a hand job, Joe." Just so many quotables. Like the narrator is who's talking about current hits in the theaters is talking about the #1 movie called Ass, and that's all it was for 90 minutes. It won 8 Oscars that year, including Best Screenplay. Just for me, I was just laughing through the entire thing. Just easily one of my favorite comedies out there. I was having a hard time between this one and Evolution of all things. David Duchovny in that one, and that was a close one. I was trying to decide if Evolution would be part of my top 10, and I ended up having to kick it out because of Idiocracy.
All right. So
I don't think I've even watched that movie. So
oh, good. I'm not the
You're
only
missing a
one that
treat.
hasn't seen it either. I have not seen the movie at all. I've
God,
never.
The pair of you are missing it. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, I was. Yeah, I mean, I know of the movie. I know of the quotes.
Yep.
I know the cast. I've seen clips from.
I know I've seen the trailer for it, but I've never
the trailer, but I've never
got around to watching it.
I never felt anything that.
Get around to watching it. It's
if it's nearly as good as Transformers, I am definitely watching this one.
It's better than Transformers because Transformers was 10. This is 9.
Number 9. That's a good point, Trevor.
Highly recommended.
Yeah.
I will say the only thing about Idiocracy right now is you cannot find it on Blu-ray. There's rumored of a 4K slash 1080p release of it, but I'm still holding on to this because it's the only copy on that's available.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, that's another thing about these lists, that you hear different perspectives of movies that you probably would have had later on your list or not even on your list at all. But again, you know what? I'll see if I can track down somewhere, might be streaming or something like that. Everything's
you can
streaming
watch it
somewhere.
for free with ads on YouTube.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Well, there you go. All right. Okay. So I guess I'm up next. And hey, guess what? It's my number 9. So this particular movie is almost as synonymous with the actual writer and the director of the movie itself. The coincidence that they happen to be the exact same person is pretty paramount. This gentleman who wrote and directed this particular movie, this was his 5th movie where he exclusively has done horror films. So of the list of my top 10, this is the first horror that I have on it. And from the list of the previous movies, this is going to give it away, but his first movie was in 1972, Last House on the Left. In 1977, he did The Hills Have Eyes, Deadly Business in 1981, and Swamp Thing in 1982. Now, I will admit that I saw Swamp Thing first because I actually saw that in the theaters. I actually got to see it with a buddy of mine because I was invited over to go see a movie, and then instead of at the last minute, they decided we're going to go to the movie theaters to see this. And I'm like, all right, cool. So Swamp Thing. If you've seen Swamp Thing, you've seen Swamp Thing. I mean, it's not here or there. It's not the best and all thing. But the one thing that did stick out is that I'd noticed probably for the first time that I can remember when watching movies is that the writer and the director were the exact same person. Now, at this point, in 1982, I had discovered modern day horror because of An American Werewolf in London, which was the first modern horror movie that I had actually seen. And it made me want to see all the nowadays horrors. And when I saw the advertisement from the writer and the director of Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes, I'm like, wait. And then they said, and 1982 Swamp Thing. I'm like, oh, that guy does scary movies? Cool. This is A Nightmare on Elm Street, the very first one. Now, to begin with, again, it's to this point, this is Wes Craven's most expensive to make movie at $1.1 million. So when it was released in November 9th of 1984, it pulled in a box office of $57 million, which, hey, such a small investment on a horror film in the mid 80s is a fantastic thing. Now, this movie is also a departure from his other movies as well. I went on to, because a lot of the stuff prior to is available on video. So I was able to see his earlier horror films and all that. And this definitely is a switch in a different direction. The cast of A Nightmare on Elm Street includes a crew of veteran actors, such as John Saxon and Robert Englund, who we've previously stated in another episode about V, having Robert Englund in and all that, which is around the same time. And then we have several inspiring young actors in it, like the main character of Heather Langenkamp, the actress Heather Langenkamp, and even being introduced to Johnny Depp as his first acting role. This is a horror film that has been seen before. Prior to this, horror films were ghosts, somebody killing people, monsters, or something like that. No one had actually really sort of delved into this dream state that this character of Fred Krueger which at the time he didn't receive the name Freddy until the second movie. Again, also written by Wes Craven. But it is a story about a killer who can kill you in your dreams. Now, again, this is the first one. So we're not at the spectacle that Freddy Krueger eventually turns into. He doesn't become he isn't quite the icon that Robert Englund portrays this Freddy Krueger as. This is deep down in it a scary, scary dude. He is not very, he's on the screen. Robert Englund as Freddy, 8 minutes of screen time. In an hour and 32-minute long movie, your bad guy is on the screen for 7 minutes and he's scary as fuck. He is, and again, it's up, and it's also on the shoulders of these young actors, and they are young actors. They did hire younger, I mean, they were high school kids that they're portraying. They weren't high school kids as actors, but they were still like 18 and whatnot, because, you know, labor laws, you can't get too many young people to be doing night shoots for weeks on end sort of thing. So, but the portrayal of fear and the use of gore and the sound and the ambience and the lighting, it culminates in what has been Wes Craven's training. Like I said, 1972, Last House on the Left is a very grungy looking movie. It's very dark. It's very, and I mean, like the tone of it is dark. If you've seen what it is, I'm not going to go into it here, but it's a disturbing storyline to begin with. Hills Have Eyes, killers in the desert sort of thing. You know, the car takes the wrong turn and they run into the hillbillies that kill people sort of thing. I mean, and Swamp Thing is a DC movie. So, I mean, there you go. It's a DC movie in 1982. You figure out what that is. But again, it has a lot of heart in it because of the character of Swamp Thing. That's the heart of the story. Everything else around it is not that great, but Swamp Thing himself is a character that you get pulled into. You're following Nancy, played by Heather Langenkamp, as she tries to navigate this storyline where her friends are dying around her because they're falling asleep and this creature is killing them in their sleeps. And it reflects in the real world as well. So they're physically getting killed. It turns out their parents, all the kids on Elm Street's parents, had something to do with killing this Fred Krueger because he was a child killer. Originally, he was supposed to be a molester, but they decided to steer away from that at the last minute. So they made him a killer. When they did the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, 7 years ago now, 2014, I think it was.
Yeah.
They turned him more into a molester sort of thing. So it became, because you know what, you could be a child molester in 2014. Back in 1984, you couldn't be a molester. You wouldn't be able to put that on the screen. So, but this movie captured so much that I myself got swept up in the wells. Look, after this came a sequel that wasn't as well received, but that didn't stop. It went on to a third movie, which critically is probably the best of the series. There's a total of 6 movies. There is a TV series called Freddy's Nightmares, where it was like half-hour, like Twilight Zones, but in the Freddy universe. They were booked in by Freddy Krueger telling you how the story was going to go out. Not every single episode had anything to do with Freddy Krueger and all that, but it was Freddy's Nightmares, and Freddy was telling you these scary stories on TV, people. This was friggin' late night, probably Saturday nights. I think I was watching it on WUTV 29, which was what eventually became the Fox channel out of Buffalo sort of thing, because this wasn't airing in Canada. But Freddy Krueger, everything Freddy Krueger, it was probably one of the most merchandised characters, to the point where he actually became almost like a joke upon himself. Then eventually it turns into Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, and Wes Craven himself writes and directs to re-steer the storyline back into the originality. But it's still going back to the very first one, and that's the one that has the greatest hook into it. It's the one that pulls you in. It's the one that makes you go on. You can see the other ones and be like, whatever and all that, but the real actual scary one is the first one, and that's the one that has the most honest to God like thrills and chills and scares. And it's, again, it's not that big of a budgeted movie. It's not that huge thing. It's practically almost at one point a bottle movie. Like a good portion of the movie just takes place in one house. But again, the innovation, the look, the feel, the sound of it is just something that reminisces so much in me, to the point where I myself have cosplayed as Freddy Krueger. I've cosplayed as different Freddy Krueger. I've cosplayed as the original Freddy Krueger. I've also done the New Nightmare Freddy Krueger. And but it's just something that holds on to me so much because of what it was. And again, like I said, when your main bad guy is on the screen for 7 minutes and has that much of an impact, there is no denying that that is a well done movie. I mean, and again, it's so convincing that it is something that is happening to these people. It doesn't seem too farcical, even though the idea is in the fantasy. The movie makes it feel like it's real because it actually brings the fantasy into reality at one point in the movie. And that's why it's on my top 10 and it's at my number 9 as A Nightmare on Elm Street. So that's my reasoning for that being there. So I know not everyone is going to be a horror fan. I know Mike probably, Mike, you've probably seen A Nightmare on Elm Street movie at some point, haven't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, these are the kind of movies, of course, growing up in the 80s, you see these things, right?
Yeah.
So so it's not my vibe. It's not the kind of stuff that I go out of my way to see. But I mean, movies like this are iconic. You can't live through the 80s without knowing Freddy Krueger.
Exactly.
It just doesn't happen.
That's the other thing too. Freddy Krueger himself, you don't have to have seen an Elm Street movie to know who Freddy Krueger is. Yeah. But again, Jason, you don't have to see a Friday the 13th. You know who Jason is. You know who Michael Myers is.
Just have to go trick or treating one night, and you'll see either of these characters.
Yeah.
I got to say, I think I was 12, 13 when that came out, and I remember one of the kids in my class. I think I was in grade 6, and one of the kids in the class decided they were going to do sort of a report on a scene from Nightmare on Elm Street. So brought the Nightmare on Elm Street videotape to class, played the scene where I don't remember who it was. They were lying in bed and they were looking up, and you could see that the ceiling flexing down, like hands reaching down and the faces against it. And I swear to God, I slept the lights on for like fucking 4 weeks after that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It was one of the, again, I just introduced myself to new horror, like modern horror and all that. And that got me as well, but it also made me want to see more. I mean, it was great. Again, American Werewolf in London started it. Freddy Krueger continued it. Like Wes Craven is fantastic. And again, Wes Craven goes on to do other horror films and all that, and regular films and all that. And his career was a fantastic career. So
you managed to get the good terror. I got the bad terror.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess we're down to who we got next? Who's going next? Huh? Who's next?
I guess I'm going to go next.
I guess that guy.
So,
right. So Michael,
and
Michael. Hey, wait a sec. I got a question for you.
What's up, Troy?
What's your number 9?
My number 9. First, I have to do a quick correction from last week because somehow I mumbled out that True Romance was 1998. This was one of those brain fart moments where I was trying to talk to Gavin, but instead I talked to Kevin. But anyways, it was 1993, just to make that clear. Anyways.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
I did.
I listened to the podcast.
Why didn't you say something then?
Yeah, I know. I expect.
No, I listened to the podcast when I re-edited it.
I expect Trevor to correct me from all my silly mistakes, especially when it's statistic based.
This is your segment. I'm not going to say a thing.
Okay.
But anyways, it's been corrected. Anyways, number 9. The Marvel Cinematic Universe makes its way into the top 10. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So this came out in 2014 and released on March 13th. Directed by Anthony Russo and Joe Russo. This is their first movie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the writers are Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. And these guys have been with Captain America from the start and took us all the way to Endgame. So this is like a powerhouse writing duo. And the Russo bros became my favorite directors of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The budget was 177 million. Box office was 714 million. Somehow this didn't make it into the box office showdown. And I was thinking about that the whole time because I knew if this movie went up against Endgame, I would have to pick Winter Soldier over Endgame. Because for me, structurally, this is the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. And it's interesting doing this top 10 because everybody's got the reasons for picking different movies, like whether it's the nostalgia or, whether it's, you recruit people to go see it or whatever the reasons are. But I've noticed after the last podcast, all of the movies on my list, it's a story that is 100% solid. Like there's no writing tweaks I would do to it. And it's always got some extra element, like some wow factor and a twist, something I didn't see coming. So Captain America Winter Soldier, this is, at least at this point, this is essentially the Empire Strikes Back of the Marvel Universe.
That's true.
Right.
I didn't even think of that. It is.
Right. Like this is something that happens in the middle. It's a sequel movie. And after this movie, everything changes. Eventually we get Infinity War, which is like the bigger Empire Strikes Back with Marvel Cinematic Universe. Mm-hmm. But this is really the first one. So as far as release date goes, this is after the Avengers. But before this movie, we had Iron Man 3, which is on the bottom of my favorites of Marvel movies. And we had Thor and Thor: The Dark World, which is again like number 2 on the bottom of my least favorite movies. So when this one was coming out, I'm all pumped after the Avengers. I was like, oh my God, don't screw this up. Like I can't handle another bad Marvel movie. And when the trailer came out, I saw the costume. And for the costume, it's based on the comic book Steve Rogers Super Soldier, where it just strips out all the iconic elements of Captain America's costume. It's like, oh no, are they just gonna like strip all the joy and the superhero out of this? And I didn't realize that Steve Rogers Super Soldier was written by Ed Brubaker. So I'm probably gonna have to go back and check that out because Ed Brubaker has done my favorite Captain America stories. But anyways, the way it was written into this, it makes sense. So you have Captain America in World War II. He gets frozen, wakes up, joins S.H.I.E.L.D., alien invasion, fights Loki. Like it's completely bonkers. But this is him actually adjusting to modern life and the modern world. And there's so many elements of that that's really fun. Like even to his little notebook of things he has to check out. And people keep saying, oh, you have to check this out. You have to watch this movie. You have to do this. And the notebook was an interesting thing because every region it was released had a different screenshot of stuff that would resonate with the local people that were watching the movie. One fun thing about this movie, it was very minimal CGI. Like anytime you could do practical effects, they did practical effects. And because of that, this movie really stepped up just the look and the feel. Like this is the first, to me anyway, like Iron Man felt very realistic, but this is the first one that felt like it was happening in the real world. Like even when you get the CG helicarriers, it still was very grounded in reality. The introduction to all the main characters happens in the first couple of minutes of the movie. So right in the first minute, you're introduced to the Falcon. You're introduced to Captain America. And after they do their run around Washington, you're introduced to Black Widow. And Black Widow in this movie is my favorite rendition of the character. So she starts out as, the absolute seductress, the femme fatale. And she has this beautiful character arc through the whole movie. She starts out, she's making jokes with the boys at the start, right? Showing that she can hang with them. She can play all the games. She's goes on the covert missions for Fury. So while they're attacking the boat, she's got her own side mission. She's very mysterious to the point where Cap is just like, look, you can't function like this as a team. But whereas Natasha Romanoff, she's a Russian super spy. She's the James Bond type. Like if you wanted a James Bond character as a female, Black Widow in this movie is it. So we have iconic moments for Captain America. The fact that he jumps out of the plane without a parachute. Beautiful moment. The fight sequence on the boat is the first introduction to the type of fights. Nice cat, Trevor. The fight sequence on the boat is the first time we see what kind of action we're going to get throughout this movie. And it just keeps on going. Like amazing choreography, intense fight sequences. And even when the Black Widow's on the boat, the whole time rewatching it, I'm thinking, why was Black Widow not like this in her own movie? The amount of iconic moments that character had in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Like if she had even a fraction of these moments in her movie, the Black Widow movie would have been incredible. So you have the first appearance of the Triskelion, and beautiful design, looks straight out of the comics. It's looks like a superhero headquarters, but it still seems grounded in reality. The whole Smithsonian, where you get the backstory of the first Captain America movie, and you see Steve Rogers kind of taking in his history, and the audience gets to basically relive the first movie, but then you're also introduced to Bucky in that moment. So it's a brilliant way to do a recap. And fun fact, Joss Whedon makes an appearance walking down the stairs. So that's kind of fun. When Nick Fury gets attacked while he's driving the car, I was hoping we'd have a moment where you'd see the typical Shield cars where the wheels flip in and fly away. I remember sitting in the theater, it's like, oh, the car's going to fly. But at least they gave us some fan service. So it's like, oh, thrusters are offline. It's like, okay. Yeah. So it's like, okay, you gave me that, so I can respect it. The introduction to Winter Soldier and the whole fight sequence on the roof. Again, incredible action sequence. Like you see Captain America as a superhero, super soldier, bursting through walls, jumping over buildings. And the moment that Winter Soldier catches the shield, again, knowing the Captain America comics and what happens with Bucky eventually taking on the role of Captain America, beautiful moment. I was sure Marvel was going to follow through with that at some point, especially when they signed him for, what was it? It was like a 9-picture deal. But Sebastian Stan, he's had one of the longest, basically him and Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, they had like the biggest picture deal. So I was sure they were going to do it. Unfortunately, we didn't get that, but it set it up anyway. When Nick Fury died, this is a moment where I was sitting in the theater with my entire family. My son was 6 years old at the time. And he screamed out in the theater, Nick Fury is dead. I was like, shh, shh. Like, don't interrupt the movie. Like, people, he's dead. And just he laughed around. But the fact that it affected him so much in the moment. And luckily later he saw that Nick Fury was alive. So he was happy about that.
Spoiler.
The elevator fight sequence. That moment in the elevator where before we get started, does anyone want to get out? That moment is probably my favorite fight sequence in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's so intense, it's so confined, and just the build up to it, just Cap noticing the sweat on people's brow and the way they're standing and the nervousness is like, okay, I know what's going on here. And when he jumps out of the elevator and crashes to the ground, amazing. When he takes down the Quinjet with his bare hands, well, and his shield. So he's going hand-to-hand combat with a Quinjet. And he wrecks it. Beautiful moment. When they go undercover, he's wearing the Clark Kent sunglasses, or I mean the regular glasses. It's just like perfect. If you're going to give Steve Rogers the disguise, yeah, why not give him the Superman disguise? And the Black Widow basically teaching him how to do covert operations. Like the beautiful moment with the two characters coming together. And this is part of the Black Widow story arc where she starts off as the 100% femme fatale. Steve Rogers doesn't trust her anymore. And this is the moment where they really start coming together. You know, she's starting to drop, you know, the facade, I guess, like, you know, the character that she's playing. And he's starting to gain the trust back from her. When they go to the SHIELD base, the whole "shall we play a game?" beautiful War Games reference, and the return of Arnim Zola. And this was something I was really happy about. I would have liked to see him in a robot body at some point, but I was happy to see him on the TV screen. And the fact that it was all like 70s technology, that was awesome. And there's a foreshadowing of what would eventually happen in Civil War, like talking about the stuff that Winter Soldier's done, which eventually gets to Tony Stark's parents. And the introduction to Sam Wilson as the Falcon, right, where they chuck the guy off the building and the next thing you know, the Falcon flies back up. Beautiful introduction to that character. And then the highway fight sequence. This is like right out of Heat, you know, that really hardcore, like gunfight, very realistic. It just gets your adrenaline rushing. Every time I watch any of the fight sequences in this movie, it just gets my adrenaline going. And then when he finally sees who's under the mask and it's Bucky, again, heartfelt moment. And the fact that it's two characters that used to be best friends, now enemies, it gives you that Empire Strikes Back feel, that, you know, Naruto feel. You get that. It's an intense story moment when you have people that are friends now become enemies. Ed Brubaker had his cameo role as one of the scientists that was basically working on Winter Soldier. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts, but the fact that he got paid more as a talking extra, even though his lines got cut, than creating the character is crazy. But it's so cool that he has a small role in the movie. You get to see Black Widow with her disguise as Councilwoman Holly. Like, that was a fun moment. Like, again, you get to see Black Widow as a super spy. And we've never seen basically what she can do, like what she's capable of. In Iron Man 2, oh yeah, she's, you know, pretending to be secretary to Tony Stark. But in this one, like, she goes full on Russian super spy, and that's awesome. And then we get the return of the original Captain America costume. So any worries I had that he was going to be wearing just the blue shield uniform, no, we get back to the classic Captain America. And then there's the epic battle on the helicarriers, which was an amazing location for a superhero battle. And the data card server blades, that was a little bit contrived, but the action sequence was so awesome, I just didn't care. And then we had amazing end credits. So Baron Strucker with Loki's staff and the twins, so Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And then the final credit, we had Bucky at the Smithsonian, looking back at his history and starting to regain his memories. And that was such an amazing moment. So overall, this is the one Marvel movie where I just didn't have any comments. Like, there's nothing that I would change. And it took the Marvel Cinematic Universe to a whole different level. Like, Avengers was a great movie, but there's things I would tweak. This one, great from start to finish. And one thing I think is interesting about this movie is, in a roundabout way, it sort of sparked this whole podcast, because this whole podcast started off of me ripping apart the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And the reason I hated that series so much is because I loved Captain America, the Winter Soldier, so much. Like, all the characters that were in the Falcon Winter Soldier originated in this movie. At least this, like, that dynamic of them started out in this movie. And my favorite renditions of them was in Captain America Winter Soldier. So to see the way they were handled in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it just grinded at my soul. You know, there's so much that they could have done with the story that wasn't done. So anyways, that's part of the reason why that series gave me such a hard time. But Captain America, the Winter Soldier, yeah, easily in my top 10 of all time.
Oh yeah, no, it and every single point that you had to say about that was, yeah, the main reason why it's in the upper echelon of the movies that I enjoy too. Again, everything that you said is pretty much spot on. Yeah, it's definitely. And again, yes, Michael, I as well would have chosen this movie over any of the other Marvel movies, because that's how much it is such a fantastic movie. It just happened, like, yeah, it is what you want to see from a comic book movie. It's a comic book movie that you should use to study to make other comic book movies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And like growing up, Spider-Man and Batman were always my two favorite superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say I ever got a Batman movie that could make my top 10. And I haven't got a Spider-Man movie that can make my top 10. Like there's always something missing or wrong or something twisted with them. But somehow this Captain America movie, it just hits all the notes that I'm looking for.
Right. Yeah. Anything else from everyone else? All right. Not much to say. I think Mike, you covered every single base with that little spiel you went on there. That was actually really good. And
it was a bit of a spiel.
Yeah, no, it was heartfelt too. I mean, you knew what you wanted to get across. You wanted to make sure that we knew why it is you like this movie. And yeah. And from the sound of it, wow, number 9 only? Holy shit. What's the rest of your list gonna look like? Holy crap.
I've got 8 more.
All righty then. So on that note, I'm just gonna say, so we're going to wrap up this particular episode of Geeking Off the Page. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening in, and hopefully you enjoyed our little diatribe about talking about all the stuff in the world of geekdom. And if you are unaware of it, we also have released another podcast that is actually the first segment that we used to have on our show called Coming Attractions. Sorry, I should actually have taken a drink before I actually started talking, because my throat's a little I'm a little
parched.
Yeah,
I'm a little verklempt.
A little verklempt. Thank you. Verklempt. Nice. That's a good one. But that being said, if you want to check that out, it's basically where we just talk about all the trailers and teasers about TV shows and movies that are coming out in the next little while that have just basically dropped in the previous week of our recording. So that's what we're doing that. And again, we're going to be reaching out again for some more opinions towards our defending your role when we do next week. We have some movies coming up that we're going to be doing reviews. I believe that everyone is really excited for this Friday because whether or not they can see it or not, but Ghostbusters Afterlife is opening. So we're probably going to be doing something Ghostbusters Afterlife next week. I know that I have made arrangements to actually see it in the theaters, and yes, I am going to see this movie in the freaking theater. So we'll figure out throughout the week where the rest of the guys are, and then we'll see where we go from that. But we will definitely be talking about whether or not, spoiler or not, we will be talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife next week. So be sure to tune in then. And like we do every single time, on the count of 3, collective goodbyes, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Hail Hydra.
Collective goodbye.
You have just been listening to Geeking Off the Page with your hosts, Mike Kitchen, Gavin Burbage, Trevor Brown, and Troy Bowman. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you could leave us a rating and comment, that would assist in allowing others to find this podcast more easily. You can follow the podcast on the following social platforms: Instagram and Twitter, search for @PlanetGeekPod, all one word. On Facebook, search for Planet Geek Productions. Or you can send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Buy the guys a coffee by going to ko-fi, ko-fi.com/planetgeekpod. And know that any and all donations will go towards improving all current and future Planet Geek Productions programs. Thank you for listening.